guys, welcome back to the channel. I am Nancy and this is my channel, Nancy's Nibbles of Life. So if you're here, thank you so much. And guess what? Summer is almost over, so you know what that means. Back to the hearty stews and soups and casserole dishes that we all love in the fall and the winter. And I have a world famous today. Well, it's not my world famous, but pot pies are known all over the world, right? And I have a delicious homemade from scratch chicken pot pie recipe that I want to share with you today. My favorite aspect of this pie is the cream of chicken. It's a homemade cream of chicken. I normally pick it up in the grocery store, but it made such a difference in this recipe, so can't wait to share it with you. All right, take a look and let me know what you think. Here we go. Okay, so of course pastry dough is so important when you're making a chicken pot pie. So we have all-purpose flour, butter, salt, and ice water. So we're going to start with our dough, and I'm using my mixer here. And we have 1.5 cups of flour. We have 1 stick of butter that I've cut into these dice pieces because it just makes it easier to incorporate in your dough. And I'm adding about 1 tablespoon of ice cold water and a teaspoon of salt. And what we're going to do is allow the flour and the butter to I'm making a mess, but allow the flour. And I started making a mess even before I got here. Anyway, we're going to form the butter and the flour together so that it makes kind of this crumbly texture, because as you know, what makes the crust so delicious on something like a chicken pot pie is its flaky crust. So in my mixer, I'm going to add a little bit more ice water because I want this dough to come together a bit more. And then what we're going to do is, of course, take it out of the mixer and form a ball. So I have my clean and disinfected countertop here. I'm adding a little flour just to ensure that it doesn't stick to the countertop, the dough. And we're going to take it out of our stand mixer. And you see the crumbly pieces have, come together to form a ball. So very easy, just that all-purpose flour, butter, and a little bit of salt with that ice water. And here I'm just going to use my rolling pin. And what we're going to do is create somewhat of an oval-shaped dough. And what we want to do is to be able to kind of create a square pattern, and we're going to refrigerate it. And the reason you want to do this is because you are ensuring that that butter is evenly spread, of course, throughout your crust. So don't work it too much because, of course, you don't want to melt your butter. That is why we work with ice water. Okay, now that we have our butter permeated throughout that dough, what we're going to go ahead and do is wrap it in a bit of saran wrap, throw it in the fridge until we get ready to roll it out a second time so that it can go over our pot pie, of course. Let's look at the rest of our ingredients. We have a chicken breast, a skinless chicken breast, about 1/4 of a white onion, 3 cloves of garlic, butter, sour cream. We have bouillon cube, chicken bouillon, and white flour or all-purpose flour. So let's move through this cream of chicken that I made for this recipe. I think it really stands apart, and it is why I think this chicken pot pie was so delicious. So after your vegetables are minced, you want to go ahead and add about a tablespoon of butter to your pot, 2 teaspoons of all-purpose flour, and create a roux. So cook your minced veggies in that butter, let it sit for a bit, add your 2 cups of flour, and that is 1/4 cup of milk. And of course, this is again, somewhat of a roux or a gravy base, right? So go ahead, give that a stir. Keep stirring until you get a smooth consistency between your flour and your milk and your butter. And again, this will be the basis of our chicken pot pie. Now, of course, you could simply go into the grocery store and pick up a can of cream of chicken. But first of all, everything is so expensive in the grocery store these days. I honestly believe we should learn how to make more products at home. I'm thinning out my gravy with a little bit of that ice water that I had left. So I added about a tablespoon or so of water. Here is another tablespoon of water. And we just want to thin it out a little bit. So that's what I'm doing here. Okay, so again, you could pick up a can of cream of chicken if you wanted in the soup, but to me this was just so much more tasty. And you know, you can control all kinds of things, the flavorings, the seasonings. So to my pot, I'm going to add a cube of the chicken bouillon. And I'm also going to add a few more seasonings here to give this the Nancy touch. Use whatever seasonings you want, but I think these all work in this recipe here. I have a teaspoon of celery salt, or half a teaspoon of celery salt. I have about a half a teaspoon of turmeric that I'm adding to this recipe. Turmeric lends to such a wonderful earthy flavor profile, but also the color of this cream of chicken. And so we're going to use the turmeric to kind of help us out there. So celery, salt, and turmeric I've added here. And along with that chicken bouillon cube, just give this a stir. And I'm also going to add a little bit of seasoning salt and black pepper. And remember, I always say that you're the cook. You season in the quantity that you desire. All right, we're going to give this a stir, and as you can see, it's coming together. That turmeric has added such a beautiful color to this cream of chicken. It's flavorful, homemade tasting. You have your aromatics in there, along, of course, with that butter. And I'm going to add probably another tablespoon of water just to get it a little bit more thinned out. All right, and then here we are. So just keep working with water, a little bit of ice water, and thin out your gravy. But there it is, homemade cream of chicken, delicious. All right, I've added my chicken breast to a pot and boiled that whole. That took about 17 minutes or so. And to shred my chicken, I'm just going to go ahead and add it to my mixer. Of course, you could use a fork and knife, that works well, but this was just too simple, and it took just a moment, so I could not resist. So, and you know, you want your chicken in small enough strips to where it's distributed evenly throughout your chicken pot pie. So there we have it, a nice, juicy, plain cooked chicken thigh. You don't need to add seasonings to this because, of course, it's all throughout our cream of chicken. So looks really good. If you have big chunks of pieces like that, just pour it out and give them a slice and you'll be good to go. There we have our chicken. Looks really, really, really good. All right, now what we're going to do is go ahead and add that chicken to our mix here, our cream of chicken. Chicken. And we're going to give that a stir. And now this is what you're used to seeing, right? For your filling on your chicken pot pies or inside your chicken pot pies. Wow, just looking at this, my mouth is watering. It was such a good recipe. And then, of course, the obligatory frozen veggies. The frozen mixed veggies, just add those directly. And here is our delicious filling for our chicken pot pie. Look at that. Again, that turmeric just lends to such a wonderful color. homemade everything at this point, right? Except we didn't go in the garden and pick the veggies, but everything looks delicious. Now, to add a bit more creaminess to this, I'm going to go ahead and add some sour cream. You saw that earlier. That's about a plop of sour cream. If you want to get technical, a couple of tablespoons would work. And we're going to mix that in, and it makes it even creamier. So really, really, really delicious. Just kind of decadent, homey filling, creamy chicken pot pie. That's what you want. All right, so we're going to go ahead and add our filling to a bowl here and kind of set it aside. Just let it cool for a little bit before we work with our pastry dough again. And we're going to bring that right out. Now, this is what I'm calling a skillet chicken pot pie. So I'm not going to be using a Pyrex or anything like that. I'm just going to use my skillet from the kitchen. So here we have our dough. It's chilled for a bit, and we're going to go ahead and roll it out again into the size that we want, so that it covers our chicken pot pie. So I am only going to make the top layer crusted for my chicken pot pie, not two. Some folks use two. I find it too much dough for me, bottom and top, so we're only going to go for the top. So here is my skillet. You want to, of course, get one that has the depth that you need in order to add all of your fillings. And, this won't bubble up on you really, but you don't want to overflow your skillet, right? So we're going to go ahead and add our filling to the skillet. Make sure that you use the back of your spoon and smooth it out like I am. Just, of course, so that you get evenly distributed pieces of everything across the board. And now, just like a blankie, we're going to tuck her in. We're going to add that dough. This dough is wonderfully buttered. It's going to create a flaky crust for us. Now, of course, I'm no pro, but as you work with dough, of course, if it stretches and pulls on you, just fill it in with another piece of dough. And again, this is a rustic skillet chicken pot pie, so the more rustic, the better, in my opinion. So it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be delicious and pretty by the time we're done. So I'm just going over, adding pieces of dough to the top of that filling. And again, where you see a little hole, just plug it in with a little bit more dough. And we're just going to work it and play with it. Now, I do have a bit of a trick to make my chicken pot pie even more presentable than you see right here. And that is a bit of design. So let me show you what I've done. Alright, so to cover any imperfections of our pie crust, what I'm going to do is take pieces of leftover dough, roll them out, and I'm going to use my cookie cutter star that I have and just cover those right on up with these cute little stars. And you could do the same if you don't have a cookie cutter. Get creative. Take your glass out of a cabinet and cut holes, circular designs. Very nice. Same deal. And we're just going to cut a few of these stars out again with this extra dough and place them onto our pie crust. And voila, look at that. So we've added our stars. We're going to crimp up the sides of our pastry dough here on the side, just a little crimp, so that the dough is covered on all sides. And then once that dough is sufficiently covered, around the sides of your skillets, just take your fork, take the back of your fork and create these indentions. And there you have it. Really, really sweet looking chicken pot pie. Something comes out of your grandma's kitchen, you know? And of course we want to add a little bit of egg wash to the top because we want that golden crust look for when our pot pie comes out of the oven. Now the last thing that we want to do before throwing this into a 350 preheated oven is poke a few holes throughout the pie, because I mentioned to you that this won't bubble up on you, but we want to release, of course, that heat. So just to ensure that. So into the oven she goes, and she baked for about 35 minutes. And look at this beauty. Wow. That's better. Boy, she looks delicious. And let me tell you, she was. I love the color of this dough. Of course, the egg white helped. We have some bubbling of the filling inside, but not much. That flaky crust, my goodness. That recipe is foolproof. If you just ensure that your butter is kept cold, it will ensure this flaky, delicious crust. Look at that, my goodness. So I'm going to let it cool off for a little bit, and we're going to cut into this chicken pot pie and give it a taste, and I'll let you know what I think. Okay, here we go. Nice, generous helping. I got the extra crust there. Make sure that star. You know, some folks like extra crust, and the adding of the stars with that leftover dough provides a little bit more dough for those that want the top, you know, the crust. All right, I've paired my chicken pot pie with a little bit of a green side salad, and we're going to go ahead and give this a taste. And I can already tell you this was delicious. And I know for sure that what set it apart is that homemade cream of chicken. Give it a try. Well, what did you guys think about that recipe? I love chicken pot pie, you know, and the time of year will be upon us soon to get it done and make those dishes that our family really loves, those warm and cozy dishes. So, all right, let me know what you thought about that. I'm gonna get busy making my lunch for today. But thank you for being here. If you haven't already, please give me a follow and like this video. And I'll see you on the next upload, okay guys? Take care. Bye!